Hello, what's up mga ka-ML? Ito na naman ang inyong abot kamay na math teacher si Sir Ash. At welcome sa ating session dito sa Math Learning with Sir Ash. Ngayon, for this day, we will be discussing the introduction and walkthrough about the terms sa lesson na fractions. Okay, ang question ngayon, ano ba ang mga words or ano ba yung mga ma-encounter natin na mga terminologies dito sa lesson na ito? So, hindi muna tayo magdi-discuss ngayon ng iba't ibang klaseng operation. Instead, we will focus on fractions. So, before natin simulan ang ating discussion, do not forget to click the subscribe button at notification bell. Okay, hello, what's up mga ka-ML? Sana ay mabuti ang inyong kalagayan ngayon because today we will have a new topic, and this topic is the next topic about what I have discussed kahapon or yung mga last lessons ko about GCF and LCM, because that lesson will be useful in this topic. But today, we will be discussing the terms that we will encounter kapag fractions na ang pinag-uusapan. Okay, let's start. Okay, fraction is technically a part. It is a piece of a whole. So therefore, kapag meron tayong kinuhang parte mula sa isang buo, ito ay tinatawag na fraction. So by definition, fraction is a part of a whole. Alright. Next. Now, fraction is in line with the operation divide because that fraction is yung usual na consistency na or yung component ng isang fraction, yung parts ng fraction, it signifies division. Later on, ma-discuss natin kung bakit divide yun siya. Alright. Okay, now let's start with the fraction. Fraction names a part of a whole. So, we can have examples like in this certain square, it is divided into 100 parts, and then the shaded region or the yellow colored region are the 3 parts. So we could say that since this 100 is being divided into 4 sections, we have 4 sections, tama? Tapos yung 3 sections naka-colored yun siya. So since the 4 sections, kung 100, hahatiin natin sa 4, 25 yun siya. Ito yun. So 25, 25, and 25, we have 75 over 100 or 75 out of 100. Now, if we simplify that 75 over 100, that is technically 3 over 4. Okay, so or 3 quarters. Later on, marami pang mga terms na pwede ninyong matutunan dito sa ating topic. Okay. Now here in this pizza na given, meron tayong whole tapos sinati ang pizza into 3 parts. We have now 1/3 part. Okay, 1/3 part of each piece. Tapos, ito naman, itong donut, hinati sa 4. So, we have 4 parts. So, this is a quarter. Okay. Then, here we have a corn divided into 3 parts. So, meron tayong 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Meron naman tayong isang popsicle na hinati sa 2. So, we have 1/2. And then, we have here the biscuit. Okay. The biscuit as a whole, it is divided into 4 parts. So we have 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4 each part. And then we also have another donut here divided into 2 parts. We have 1/2. So those parts of a whole is known as fraction. Okay, now let's continue. Now, ito ang term kapag ang ating fraction ay hinati sa dalawang parts. So if it is divided into 2 equal parts, that is what we call a half. Okay, half. So, it is very clear na kung ang isang buong triangle hinati, that is 1/2, 1/2, or a half. We have also here in our rectangle, it is divided into half. Okay, and our circle. Next, we have the term third if we divide the whole into 3 parts, 3 equal parts. So, we have a third, a third, a third. Okay, and then a third, a third, a third. Somehow, other students are reading this as 1/3. It's okay, but if you use the word a third of a part, then it is also considered as 1/3 of that part. Okay, or of that whole. All right. Now let's continue. Quarter naman ang term kapag ang isang whole ay hinati sa 4 na parts. Okay, 4 equal parts, a quarter. Kaya meron tayo mga na-encounter sa mga food chain like a quarter pound patty. Okay, so ibig sabihin yung 1 pound ng beef patty hinati sa 4, and that burger measures or has a mass of a quarter of a pound. So a quarter pound patty or a quarter pound burger. Ayan. So we have here an example, a triangle divided into 4 parts, a rectangle divided into 4 parts, and a circle divided into 4 parts. And each part is called a quarter. Okay. Let's continue. Now, let's go to the operation or the composition of a fraction. Now, a fraction is written in a number at the above and a number below with this line. Okay, the fraction line. So, the number above is known as the numerator. Okay, so numerator is the number above the fraction line to show a number of parts in a whole. So, itong si numerator, ito yung nagsasabi kung ilang parts ang kinuha mula sa whole. Alright. Now, let's continue. Ano naman ang tawag sa baba na part? Okay. Ang baba na part naman ay tinatawag na denominator. So, the denominator is the below or the number below the fraction line. It shows us that the number is being divided into how many parts. So, if we can go back to our example here in the pizza, ang natira na lang sa pizza is 3 mula sa 4 na hinati. Tama? So, this 3 na natira, that is 3 doon sa numerator, and hinati ito sa 4 na parts, so therefore 4 yung denominator natin. So we call this, or we read this fraction as 3/4 or 3/4 or 3/4. Okay, so ganun lang kadali mga ka-math learner. Okay, now let's go to the similar fractions. Now, technically, you will encounter not just one fraction but a series of fractions. Now, if fractions have the same denominator, ang tawag sa mga fraction na yun ay similar fractions. So, madali lang malaman ang similar fractions. Kapag ang denominator nila ay pareho, then that is similar fractions. Yan sila. Now, let's go to this example. Now, we have here 1/2 and 1/3. In this example, hindi natin makita kung ilang parts ba ang kinuha dito. Because if we consider this circle, hati, madali lang. This is 1/2. Then ito naman, itong natira dito, 1/3 na siya from the whole. But the idea here is that how can we know about the remaining part here, itong black? Okay, now, in order for us to know kung anong part ang nawawala, we need to convert our dissimilar fraction. Okay, dissimilar fraction naman ang tawag kapag hindi magkapareho ng denominator. So, lalagyan lang yan ng word na this, which means not similar. Okay, so, yung dissimilar fraction, gagawin natin similar fraction. So, anong technique ang gagamitin natin dito? Yung natutunan ninyo about sa least common multiple, yun ang gagamitin natin. So, we will convert our dissimilar fractions by using the LCM. But in this case, our aim here is to have the same denominator. So, kapag the same denominator, ang tawag sa process naman na iyon ay pagkuha ng LCD or the least common denominator. Now, if you want to know much about how to convert LCM fractions to similar fractions, masyado na madali. You just consider my lesson in the GCF and LCM because I have given there one example. But don't you worry because the next topic that I will be making about fractions will be conversion and the others will be the operations. Okay, now let's continue. Now, as you can see here, 2 and 3, ano ba ang LCM ng 2 at saka 3? So that is 6. So we have 6 as our LCD. Okay, least common denominator. Now, how do we get these 3 and 2? So you just ask yourself, if the 2 here, denominator 2 here becomes a 6, what happened to 2? Anong minultiply kay 2 but naging 6. Now, don't get me wrong ha, multiplication ang gagamitin natin dito because as you know, ang fraction kasi is a term or is an operation that shows division. So, ano ba ang kabaliktaran ng division? It is multiplication. So, it's either multiply and divide lang talaga ang i-consider muna natin dito in terms of conversion because sila ang mag-counterpart. Okay, so what happened to 2 but naging 6? So, minultiply lang siya ng 3. So, 2 times 3, it becomes 6. So, syempre sa mathematics, lagi yung patas. So, what you do in the denominator, you always do in the numerator. So, we multiply 3 in our denominator. So, right now, we will multiply also 3 in our numerator. So, 1 times 3 din tayo. Kaya siya naging 3, 6. Now, if you get the lowest term of this one, it's still 1/2. Alright, but now, it became 3, 6. Okay, now, going here sa 1/3, si 3 naman ay naging 6. So, what happened to 3 but naging 6? It is multiplied by 2. So, we have 6, tama? And now, syempre, i-multiply din natin ang numerator by 2. So, we have 2, 6. So, therefore, 1/2 is equal to 3, 6, while 1/3 is equal to 2, 6. So, we have now 2, 6, and 3, 6. So, therefore, this whole circle is divided into 6 parts, and then the green color, which is 1/2, is being shaded. That is 3/6 of that part. And then, ito namang orange or medyo may pagka-red, it is shaded as the 1/3, which is equal to 2/6. So, dahil meron na tayong equal parts or equal or similar fractions, we know what part ang itim na pie or itim na part dito sa ating circle. So, 3/6, 2/6, ano ang kailangan para maging 1 whole? So you just need 1/6 of our part. Okay, para maging whole siya sa ating circle. Alright, so ganun lang kadali mga ka-ML. Now let's continue. Now let's go to the lowest term. How do we get the lowest term? So, or what is lowest term? A fraction in its simplest form is what we call the lowest term. Ibig sabihin, there is no other number na makamomultiply pa sa numerator at denominator instead 1. So therefore, kung pwede pang i-divide, pwede pang i-reduce ang isang fraction, that is not yet in the lowest term. So, anong gagawin natin para makuha ang lowest term? Napakadali lang mga ka-ML. Gagamitin lang natin ang GCF, greatest common factor. So we find the GCF of the numerator and denominator. Then we will use that GCF to divide the numerator and denominator, and then the answer is our new fraction that is in the lowest term. Okay, so to simplify a fraction, divide the top and the bottom by the highest number known as the GCF. That can divide into both numbers exactly. So we have here, it can be divided by 2. It can also be divided by 3. But also, it can be divided by 6. So therefore, the GCF of this fraction is 6. So 6 and 18 can be divided both sides by 6. So therefore, we divide the numerator by 6, we divide the denominator by 6, and we get the value 1/3 or a third of the whole. So ganun lang, pag nakuha mo na yung 1/3, yun na yung lowest term. So therefore, in getting lowest term, again, you just need to reduce the value of the fraction such that wala nang number or wala nang ibang number na pwede pang mag-divide sa numerator at denominator, kundi yung number lang na 1. Okay? So, doon ka lang titigil. Pero kung meron pa pwede makapag-divide na whole number both in the numerator and denominator other than 1, then that is not yet in the lowest term. Alright, let's continue. Now, equal naman ang tawag kapag ang mga fractions has the same value, the same size, or the same number. Now, what does it mean? Now, as you can see here, we have I think this is a biscuit. A biscuit divided into 2 parts, that's 1/2. Now, if the biscuit is being divided into 4 parts, yet the shaded part is 2 parts of that quarter, that's the same. The same ano lang sila, the same size lang sila. And then even if this biscuit is divided into 3 parts, then the shaded part is 3 parts of that 6 whole divisions. Now, it is still the same as the 1/2, the 2/4. So therefore, the 1/2, 2/4, and 3/6 are just the same. They are equal. So they are equal. Now, if they are equal, then meron namang katawagan sa mga fraction na yun. At yun yung next slide natin. So that is what we call equivalent fractions. These are different fractions that have the same value. Now, ang tanong ngayon, some other books nagsasabi na malalaman mo lang na equivalent fractions ang mga fractions kapag ni-lowest term mo lahat ng mga fractions na binigay. And if the lowest term is the same, then they have an equivalent fraction. Somehow, in my experience, there are times also, lalong-lalo na sa topic na ratio and proportion, okay, the part in which we are talking about the comparison of two objects. If you try to multiply the numerator to the other denominator and the denominator to the other numerator, if you multiply them, you cross-multiply. If the answer of the product is the same, then those are equivalent fraction. Example, so if we have here 1 and 6, 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 3 is 6. So since the numerator to the other denominator and the other denominator to the numerator is the same, the product is the same, therefore we can say that they are equivalent fractions. Now let's try to the second example. 2 times 8 is 16, 4 times 4 is 16. They are still equivalent fraction. But now, baka sabihin nyo, Sir Ash, makikita naman namin sa drawing na they are just the same. Well, hindi naman sa lahat ng pagkakataon na makikita mo talaga na there is always a representation about the fraction. So, malamang-lamang ang ma-encounter ninyo, lalong-lalo na sa mga higher level, is mga fractions na lang. So, ang question doon, paano mo malalaman na they are equivalent fractions? Well, again, there are two ways. Number one, you can convert all the fractions into lowest term, or you can cross-multiply those fractions, okay, numerator to other denominator, denominator to other numerator, and if the product is the same, then they are equivalent fractions. Alright, so ganun lang kadali mga ka-ML. Now, let's go to the next term, proper fraction. Okay, proper fraction ang tawag kapag ang numerator ay mas maliit kaysa sa denominator. Ibig sabihin nito, proper fraction ang tawag kapag meron ka na encounter na fraction na maliit si numerator kaysa denominator. Technically speaking, this is the ordinary numerator because this is the actual definition of a fraction, a part of a whole. Okay, so that is, let's say in this example, this is 1/3. Now, why am I saying this? This is the actual, or this is the proper way of the real definition of a fraction. Well, you will encounter later on kung bakit ko sinabing parang ito talaga yung tinatawag na the essence of being a fraction. Alright, now let's continue. Siyempre, kung meron tayong proper fraction, meron din tayong improper fraction. Improper fractions naman ang kabaliktaran ng proper. It means that the numerator is higher than the denominator. Now, anong ibig sabihin nito? Ibig sabihin nito, kapag ito siya ay sumobra sa whole. So as you can see, we have here 4/3. Now, tingnan nyo ang representation ng 4/3. It's not just a part of a whole. It is technically two wholes. Tama? Two wholes. Na kung saan kinuha niya yung isang buo at saka isang part ng buo. Okay? So, nawawala medyo konti dito ang essence ng fraction. But because of the idea that we will be encountering decimal numbers in the future, we will be encountering more than 100% in the future, or in other fields of mathematics, then improper fractions have been considered. Okay, yun siya. Okay, so itong improper fraction, ang representation niya is this one. Okay, so it is one big whole, one whole, and then another part of another whole. Now, somehow, these improper fractions are converted into another term, and that will be the next term that we will be encountering, and that is what we know as the mixed number. Okay, so balik tayo dito, yung 4/3 ginawang mixed number. Na ano naman itong mixed number? A mixed number is a combination of a whole number and a fraction itself. Okay, so itong conversion ng fraction to mixed number, this can only happen if and only if you have an improper fraction. Okay, ulitin ko. You will only have a mixed number or a conversion to a mixed number if and only if you have an improper fraction. Therefore, kapag proper ang binigay sa'yo na fraction, hindi mo siya mako-convert into a mixed number. Instead, kapag improper siya, doon mo lang siya ma-change. Now, ang tanong, paano ba mag-change ng improper fractions? Now, ganito lang, kasimple yan siya. Now, this is very easy because dito, ang 4/3 may representation. Tama? May representation. So, since the whole is being taken, so that is already one whole. So, that is one whole. Sorry, this is one whole. And then, syempre, may sobra pa dito na 1/3, kaya 1 and 1/3. Kaya, ganun lang kasimple yan siya. But, for your convenience, very simple lang ang pag-convert ng fraction. You just use the usual division, yung dividing numbers. Okay, let's try. So, paano ba siya i-convert ng 4/3? So, ganito lang yan mga ka-ML. Ang 4, i-divide ng 3. So, if we could divide 4 by 3, so we have, there is a whole, 1, pero may sobra pa ng isa. Tama? So, 4 divided by 3 is 1, tapos may remainder pa na isa. So, therefore, the answer is 1 and 1/3. Okay, so, ganun lang kadali mga ka-ML. You just divide 4 divided by 3. So, kung ilang pairs or ilang whole number ang lalabas dyan, yun ang magiging whole number mo. Tapos, kung ilan yung remainder, yun yung magiging bagong numerator mo, tsaka i-copy mo lang yung denominator. Ganun lang kadali ang pag-convert into mixed number. Okay, don't you worry because we will still have videos incoming in conversions of improper to mixed, mixed to improper, as well as percentage. Okay, now, we also have the term tenth. Now, tenth is a term in which it talks about 10th equal parts. So, this tenth is usually used kapag meron na tayong mga conversions to the decimal number. Okay, so as you can see here, itong 1/10, that is a tenth, diba? So, if you divide 1/10, it will become a decimal value that is 0.1. But that 0.1 is known as the tenth. Okay, that if you could still remember your lesson in the place value of numbers, diba? Ito yung tinatawag natin na tenths place. Okay, ito yung tenths place. Ito yung ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on and so forth. Pero sa decimal place naman, magsisimula tayo sa tenth, then hundredth, and then thousands, and so on and so forth. That goes to my next slide as the hundreds. Okay, kapag 2 decimal place na. Kapag 1 decimal lang, tenth. Kapag 2 decimal place na, hundredth. Okay, with the TH, don't forget. Then, kapag 1,000 naman, syempre, 3 decimal na yun, thousandths. So, if there are more than, more decimal values pa, so, papasok na doon si 10,000th and 100,000ths. Okay, so, mga ganun na mga parts. Okay, but, this one is, ito lang siya, 10th, if it is equal in part, then 100, and then thousandths. Okay, so, ganun lang mga ka-ML. Napakadali lang ng idea nito. Alright? So, later on, I will also teach you how to divide fraction or how to convert fraction into decimals. Alright, now let's talk. I'm talking always about decimal. Now, let's use the word decimal. Ano ba itong decimal? Well, decimal is a fraction whose denominator is in the power of 10. Now, it is not actually as a fraction, but it's a number. Okay? Somehow, this is part of what we call the rational numbers. Okay, rational numbers. So, and somehow, meron ding mga irrational numbers na naka-convert din into decimal. But that is on the higher level na sa mathematics. But you will, hopefully, sa ating session in ML with Sir Ash, I will still teach you about the terms of how to consider those decimals. Okay, so decimal is in the powers of 10. So, yan lang dapat i-consider. It is in the power of 10. So, ito yung, if this is a number, okay, that is a number, that point is what we call the decimal point. Okay, so, decimal point ang tawag dyan. Then, this one is the units or the ones, the tens. Then, ito naman ang tinatawag nating tenths with the TH, hundreds, and the thousands. It means that this one is, if we convert 0.591 thousandths, if we convert this into fraction, that is 591 over 1,000. Okay, so yan ang ibig sabihin niya. So, as you can see here, this is 0.6, so that is 6 over 10. If this is 0.60 hundredths, that is 60 over 100 or 60 over 100. So, ganun mga ka-ML. Now, let me also emphasize that decimal, wala itong over, ha? Wala itong over. It is actually a value with a decimal point. So, ito yun siya. Kaya siya tinawag na decimal number. Okay. Kapag may use of decimal point, that is a decimal number. Okay. So, ganun mga ka-ML. Ibang part siya ng numbers. Okay. So, iba din yun siya. Though, fractions and decimals are correlated because we can convert fractions to decimal and we can also convert fractions to percentage. So, yan sila. You will encounter that later on my next video. Okay, next, we also have a ratio. Syempre, because ratio is a relationship of two items or two quantities or two numbers. And we all know that a fraction is a representation of two values, the numerator and the denominator. So, a ratio is an example of, or a fraction is an example of a ratio. Now, a ratio can be represented into three parts. It could be used as the word, this colon, and ito namang over. Now, remember, if I have a video about ratio and proportion, so you can check that out on my channel. So, marami kayong matutunan doon, and even ang mga pag-solve about sa ratio and proportion. Okay, so let's go here. This example, we have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8. So that is, we have 5 blue and 3 pink circles. So if we get the relationship of the two colors or the two circles, we have, or blue to pink, we have 5 to 3 or 5 is to 3. We have also 5 is to 3 ito in this representation, or we can use 5 over 3. Okay, so ganun lang ang ratio mga ka-ML, napakadali lang. And more about that on my video. Meron ako isang video na ratio and proportion lang. Try to check that out. Alright, next we go with the percentage. Okay, tulad ng sabi ko kanina, fractions can be converted into decimal and decimal can be converted into percentage. So this is also a representation. So as you can see, percentage, alam mo yung percent, Sir Ash, yung percent, yung mga nakikita nyo may ganitong symbol, yan. Yung merong dalawang bilog, tapos may slash sa gitna. Okay. Yung mga nakikita natin sa mga mall, 10%, 25%, 75%. At kapag sure na sure ka sa sagot mo, 100%. Alright. Okay. So, ganun lang kadali ang mga percentage. It is in the rate or an amount of 100. Now, in terms of using percentage, okay, ito yon. So, if this is 75%, if we convert this into fraction, you just eliminate the percentage symbol and then you put an over 100. Okay, ganun lang kadali mga ka-ML. Maglagay ka lang ng over 100 dito and that's it. It's 75 over 100 and that is already a fraction converted from the number 75%. However, since in the fraction, we tend to use the lowest term, so that 75 over 100 will be converted into 3/4 or 3/4. Okay, ganun lang kadali. Now, as you can see here, we also have 47%, and this is converted into 0.47 para sa decimal. Ang 9% is converted into 0.09 or 0.9 hundredths. Ayan. 0.9 hundredths. Always remember, ang percentage is in the amount of hundreds. So, hundreds over 100 talaga yan sila. So, 47 over 100 kung gawin itong fraction. Ito naman 9 over 100 kung gawin itong fraction. Kung gawin itong decimal, you just move your decimal point. So, since this is a whole number, tama? So, yung decimal niya nandito, you just move them 2 places to the left. Okay? 2 places to the left. And that percentage will become a decimal value. So, ganun lang kadali. Or, if you're not that, talaga, yung parang naaasiwa ka sa pag-move lang ng dalawang places, since 47% means 47 over 100, So you just divide 47 by 100 and the answer is 0.47. Ganun lang kadali mga ka-ML. So, ganun lang po ang mga discussion natin or ganun lang po ang mga terms na may encounter natin dito about fractions. So in terms of the operations, in terms of the solving, the computation, the reducing, I will be giving you those topics on the next video. So hopefully tune in lang talaga kayo sa ating mga discussion mga ka-ML. And please do not forget to subscribe, like, and share, and even comment kung ano pa yung mga topics na gusto niyo ma-discuss dito sa ating ML with Sir Ash. Lagi niyong tatandaan na masarap matuto ng mathematics kapag marami tayong nagsasama-sama. Ito pa rin ang inyong abot kamay na math teacher, si Sir Ash, signing off. Magandang araw, magandang gabi, magandang hapon, at lagi tayong maging safe sa ating mga buhay. God bless. Goodbye.